Hey everybody, this is Flavio Romeo, and on this episode of the Towncast, we had the opportunity of meeting with Mike Trasso, owner of Trasso Jiujitsu, the new place on Rock Road, right in Glen Rock, and he shares his journey from growing up in Lyndhurst to competing nationally and starting his own online series called The Merge. He's going to talk about that, and then finally opening up his gym right here on Rock Road. So enjoy the episode, everybody. All right, everybody, here we are. We're right on Rock Road, and we're at a brand new building. I love the fact that, you know, these buildings that were vacant during the pandemic are now starting to fill up.
Yeah,
so it was great to see. You know, everything was covered over. It's like coming soon. Trasso's Jiu-Jitsu. I'm like, yes, another place is filling up. So I'm here with Michael Trasso.
What's up, guys? This is Michael Trasso, owner of Trasso Jiujitsu and Wrestling in Glen Rock, New Jersey.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah.
So what? Tell me about where did you grow up, first of all?
Yeah, so I grew up in Lyndhurst, New Jersey, my entire life. So always in the Bergen County area.
Nice.
So I was always down there, training down there. I have family move up into the northern Bergen County area. So I started becoming more familiar with this area, the older or later part of my life, more recently. And then that's why I wanted to open up the school up here. I like this area better.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what age? We're going to talk about the differences because we had Gary Stevens on a while ago talking about Taekwondo. So we're going to talk about the differences in these type of martial arts. But when did you start getting involved in? Was it always jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, so at around 5.5, I started.
5.5 years old.
Yeah, really? very, very young. I started.
Is that your idea, or is that your parents like, hey, you got to do something?
No, so it's funny you said that. It was a mixture of my parents wanted to get me involved in some kind of sport, right? But my kindergarten teacher recommended I get into some kind of activity or some kind of sport because
Really?
I was extremely shy as a kid. Where there's actually some like footage of me like even covering my face like in public. I was just a very shy kid. So a mixture of that, my teacher recommending it, and then my dad would play some martial art movies once in a while, like Bruce Lee, and he kind of saw I liked watching it. So he's like, you know what, we'll try martial art. And we actually tried like Taekwondo, a couple other ones. And I think it was just a mixture of not clicking, and also when we finally wound up going to a jiu-jitsu school in Lyndhurst, New Jersey, Rising Sun specifically, the instructor made a good point where he's like, hey, look, I mean, even from a police academy perspective, like statistically, 90+% of fights end up on the ground, right? If it's not like a one-shot knockout, right, as you wind up seeing even on social media today or YouTube, it's usually not like a one-shot knockout. No one really stands and boxes 12 rounds, right? When it gets like a street fight.
It's not what you see in the movies.
Yeah. So usually you want to hit the ground anyway, right? Yeah. So it's always his pitch was like, hey, listen, you might as well learn a martial art that teaches you how to efficiently control and defend yourself from the ground, because it's probably going to end up there if you end up in a real life situation.
Yeah, it's interesting. We had Steve Fika. I don't know if you guys heard that episode. We had Steve Fika who grew up in jiu-jitsu, and it was the same thing. It was like, you know, when you're fighting, you're going to end up on the ground. So once you're on the ground, what do you do?
Exactly.
And he was trying to explain the differences. So that's really the differences between a Taekwondo or Jiu-Jitsu or Judo or Karate. How would you describe the differences?
Yeah, so from like a Taekwondo or kickboxing, more stand-up martial arts, it's going to be more of the striking, punching, kicking, knees, elbows. I'm actually not sure if Taekwondo does elbows and knees, but like Muay Thai does, for example, right? Very heavily with knee shots, elbow strikes. And that's very heavily based around, you know, you knocking your opponent out.
Standing up, and getting them down, and walking away.
Exactly, right? Exactly. But when you hit the ground, right, then you have to rely on the jiu-jitsu, catch wrestling, sambo,
to keep him down.
Grappling, to keep him down, control him, and get him in some kind of chokehold, leg lock, arm lock, etc., right? Now going into like the nitty-gritty, right, stuff like judo. Judo does throws, right? Judo is more throw-based, getting your opponent to the ground with a throw. And then I think in professional or like Olympic judo, you have X amount of time, maybe 20, 30 seconds, to try and submit them. And then they start you back up on your feet. So judo does cover the submission aspect a little bit, but to answer your question, the main differences between, you know, Taekwondo, kickboxing, Muay Thai is like that's more stand up. What we do here is get the fight to the ground, right, with an efficient takedown, and then control your opponent, dominant position, submission.
Yeah, because he was saying that a lot of police officers, a lot of people in law enforcement are taking more jiu-jitsu because, you know, they want to be able to do that safely and keep them down. Once they're down, keep them down until backup comes or until they're able to handcuff them or lock them away.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother subject. The whole I say the police force aspect, because we've had a couple police officers. We actually have some training here right now.
Nice.
But I've talked to a few as well, and their whole thing is like, hey, like if someone's trying to punch me, even kill me, I can't punch them. I can't strike them. Right? It's I don't want to say it kind of sounds funny saying against the law for a police officer, but it's just frowned upon, right? And they can get in trouble. So they actually have to rely on, jiu-jitsu or some kind of non-striking way to control their opponent, even if it's just help until backup comes, right? And jiu-jitsu is perfect for that.
Yeah, and so listen, and you hit a good point, because a lot of times kids will. I did jiu-jitsu when I was 10. I did it for a year.
Oh, okay.
So I learned how to count to 10 in Japanese. I remember sitting there with our legs crossed going, ichi, ni, san, shi, go, roko, shishi, hashiku, ju. That was it. That's all I know. That's all I remember. But, a lot of times kids will go and they'll try something and they just don't like it. So it's not so much that they don't like martial arts. They may not have found the right one. Like you said, you tried Taekwondo, you tried some of the other ones, and this is what you found that was more for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I encourage you guys, whether you have kids, grandkids, take them to a class. Let them take a class. Let them see if that's something that they're into. If they're not, take them to another one and see what fits their style, their person. Because it's different for everybody.
Yeah, and also goals are different for everyone, right? I mean, I've had parents ask me as a coach, as an instructor, what do you expect out of my kid, right? And it's, hey, are you a competition school only? What kind of school are you? And I tell people some people sign their kids up just to build confidence, break their shyness, lose weight, meet new friends, just have fun, new sport. Some people join to be pro competitors. Hey, I want to be a national champ. I want to be a world champ. I want to be a pro competitor. So it's just like all spectrums. If you want to lose weight, have fun, build confidence, all the way up to, hey, I want to compete, right? Like I will support you either way. But I'm just making that point because some parents just want their kids to join just for an activity, have fun, build confidence. Others have higher goals. So
and you said it, building confidence. You were a shy boy growing up, and how did you feel? Like, I don't know, you may not remember at 5.5, but do you remember the feeling you had when you first started training?
Yeah, no. Well, I actually remember the day like very vividly.
You do?
Of joining. I really do. I remember it's funny. It's like a storefront like this in Lyndhurst, and I remember walking up my father, and the guys were actually cleaning the windows. The instructors, they were like wiping them down. Yeah. And then we walked in and started talking to them.
That much memory. Wow.
Yeah. No, I remember it exactly. And obviously,
you're a lot closer to 5.5 than I am. So
exactly. Yeah. But no, I mean, I did feel, I think, shy, a little reserved, but I think a big thing for people, no matter what your age is the environment and also how you make someone feel, right? Like, if I was a little nervous, which I honestly can't remember if I was nervous, I think I was more just even. Yeah. But it was a great environment, lots of sunlight coming in. It was bright, didn't seem like weird or dark or dreary. And the instructors were very nice and charismatic, and it was very easy, right? Sometimes you go to some places and they're almost standoffish, they don't talk to you much, and you kind of feel like an outsider. So it depends also how the environment is when you walk in, right? Is this guy inviting? Is the instructor cool? Does he seem like some kind of pompous guy who's turned off by you? Or are the people inviting students will walk up to you, hey, my name is Mike, who are you, right? It just really depends on the environment too.
Yeah. So you felt good once you started taking the classes. How long did you stay there in that particular place?
So, I was there, I would say, I think I was there for about 4.5 years or so, 4 or 5 years, and then
10, 11.
Yeah, actually probably around there, because then one of the coaches wound up starting his own place, right? Okay. I think he wanted to break away from the other partner. Left on good terms, right? I think they just had different goals, right? And he left, started his own place, and I wound up following him because he was my jiu-jitsu instructor, right? The other one was more focused on a little bit more stand-up.
Right.
Both great guys, though. And I wound up going with him, and he started his own school, and I was with him for another 4.5 years before I made that transition to like more of the Brazilian jiu-jitsu side, because he was more of a freestyle jiu-jitsu, which actually was derived from like a Japanese style jiu-jitsu. Okay. Both gi, both no gi, but it was more around, I'd say, that integration between sambo, jiu-jitsu, catch wrestling, even some kind of hapkido. Hapkido is more like small joint manipulations, but it was kind of stuff like that.
And what's the difference between that and Brazilian?
Are you saying freestyle jiu-jitsu in Brazilian?
Yeah.
It was, like the Brazilian jiu-jitsu came from like the Gracie heritage, like when they started it. Japanese jiu-jitsu is more from like the Japanese roots, and really there isn't a big difference in regards to same positions, right? Side control, full mount, north, south. It was just two different kind of families that started it.
Okay.
But it was like the 95% the same, right? It's just really different submissions, different methodologies.
So here you are, 11 years old. You go off with your teacher, and now you go off to a new studio. How long were you there?
So I was there probably about 4.5 years, because at 13, that's when I made the transition to more of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu side under Mike Markulik in Montclair, New Jersey. So as I was actually out in Vegas competing, and
you were competing at a young age.
Yeah, my first competition was 1999, so I was 9.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember how did that come about? Was that your idea? Did you like, I got to try to do it, or did your coach say, "Hey, listen, here's an opportunity"?
You know what? To be totally honest, I don't remember. But I remember wanting to do it. So if it was either my father being like, "Hey," it's probably one of them, because 9 years old, like I'm not using the internet, right?
Yeah.
So it's probably like them being like, "Hey, there's a tournament."
Oh, that's right. At 9 years old, you have internet.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I was still around when floppy disks were a thing.
Oh, you
and
remember?
If you were on the internet, you couldn't use the house phone. So I was still around.
All right, but you don't remember cassette tapes.
I remember them, but it wasn't like a prime time usage, But yeah, so my dad, our instructor, must have bought it up, right? And then and we did it. I actually forgot the name of the event, but it was 1999. So.
Nice.
But yes, so I did that.
How did you feel competing?
I felt good. From an early age, I was lucky enough to kind of catch on quickly to the sport and have a lot of success at a young age. Where I was, even from 1999, 2000, 2001, 2, 3. I was winning a lot of these tournaments, and I think that's where my dad saw, like, oh, cool, like, he's catching on. He has he's definitely talented in the area. He enjoys it. So yeah, it was. You
weren't so shy anymore.
I wasn't so shy anymore. Yeah.
And where did you compete? Like, what parts of the country?
Oh man, I'm trying to think. We traveled everywhere: Chicago, Vegas, California, Florida. Most areas in New England, Mass, Michigan we went to as well. We went a lot of places.
Nice.
As a kid and teenager. We kind of bounced around all over. But it was in Vegas, which I think was nationals out in Vegas, where the president at the time of one of the, I'd say, larger local North America grappling associations called Grappler's Quest, I think it was Grappler's Quest. Brian wound up introducing me to Mike Markulik, and it was funny because we're 3,000 miles away, or 2,500 miles away, in Vegas, and he's like, "Hey, this is Mike Markulik from Montclair, New Jersey. You live in Lyndhurst," and he's kind of went through his roots, right? He's initial roots are from the Gracie family. Got his he was a brown belt all the time at this school, and really solid guy, really good instructor, really good technique. Very well known in the area, and you guys want to make that transition to BJJ, so this could be a good shot for you. And we got connected there, and ever since then it was a wrap. Once we got back, we started training together. Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
And so how long did you compete? How many years did you compete for?
I actually forgot off the top of my head. I remember talking about this one time, and I was like, oh my God, this is a long time. So my first competition was 1999, so 9 years old, and my last competition was 2021 in May.
Last year?
It was last year. It was the Pan American Championship. So
wow.
Unfortunately, I can't do math that quick, but I think it's probably over 20 years competing. Probably.
Yeah. Wow. And how old are you now?
I'm 31 now, and there was 1 year that I missed competing because there was a stage where when I got older, I was trying to save some money, and I got like a big boy, real person, big boy job. And there's 1 year that I didn't compete. So technically it might be 20, because let's see, 99, 2009, 2019 would be 20 years, missed 1 year, 21. So yeah, 21 years.
Wow. And they still had it during the pandemic, competitions?
It was, I think November 2020 I competed as well. They took off. So from March until about September, October was a big break where they didn't have any competitions really, and then fall 2020 they started opening it back up again.
So what inspired you to say, hey, you know what, I've done this? Now you lived always in New Jersey?
So I was in New Jersey until 2008 when I graduated high school, and then I got recruited to wrestle in college up in Providence, Rhode Island.
Wow.
So then I lived in Providence. I was in school from 2008 to 2000.
There's a wrestling college?
I'm sorry?
There's a wrestling college?
Rhode Island College. Wrestling in college. Yep.
Oh, okay.
So I wrestled in college from 2008 to 2012, and then I had a 5th year for education. I graduated in 2013, and then I got a job in the IT staffing industry. And I did that from because at that point I said, you know what, like I have a choice now. I'm graduating. I can either try and remain full time and fight professionally, but it was just a mixture of like, hey, if I have to go back home, I have to live with my parents, or I got to make money somehow, right? So I'm like, I got to get a full time job and try and train on the side. So I kind of took it's like a 2-year or a year and a half kind of break where I competed like once, and I just focused more on like save money, make money, So I got that job in the IT staffing industry in 2013. Did that until, I'm actually still with it part time, but then in 2016 I got an offer to move out to San Diego to help one of our top sales guys start the West Coast practice. Wow. And at that time, I looked at it as like, hey, you know what? I took some time off. I stocked some money away. I still want to open a school down the road. But let me use this as a time to move to like the jiu-jitsu hub of the world. So San Diego, if you don't know, is like, it's like the jiu-jitsu hub of the world, right? Not even like the country. Like people from Brazil, all over the world will like move to California and San Diego. Yeah, San Diego has, out of the top 3 or 4 schools in the world, 2 or 3 are in San Diego.
Not a bad place to study.
Definitely not a bad place to study. So I looked at it as like, you know what? Let me jump out to San Diego, start the West, or help my buddy Anthony build the West Coast practice, and then I'll jump right back into competing professionally. But really, is kind of competing professionally at a semi-professional level because I had a day job, right? I wasn't really a full-time competitor. Yeah. So.
And how long were you out in San Diego?
I was out in San Diego almost 4 years to the dot. I moved out there, I think it was like August 3rd, 2016, and I moved back to Jersey end of July, July 29th or 30th, something like that.
Well, so here you are, you moved back to Jersey, now it's like, okay, now I'm ready to open a school. Yeah,
so I had plans on starting a school, and of course, COVID.
You had plans for a while.
Since I was a kid, I was like, I want to one day own my own school. So that's why this is like so awesome. Opening this.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But it was interesting because I'm in San Diego. I had, I already talked to my business part about moving back eventually, starting a school, and then at the same time, COVID hit, right? Yeah. And that's when I was like, oh no, oh my God, like what's going to happen, right? And you have all the bad feelings of like, is everything ever going to be the same again? Yeah. And I want to open a school, and like, will my dream ever come true?
This is so contact. It's not like it's not like you're playing tennis across the net. This is pure contact.
Yeah, exactly. So during that time when I'm in San Diego and that kind of happened, I love teaching, and having the wrestling pedigree and the wrestling background, having the jiu-jitsu background, I wanted to start something from a marketing perspective so I can teach and show people my techniques and also market myself. So it's like a ramp up of marketing before I open my school. Yeah. So I started an online series called The Merge, and it's kind of merging both arts, right? Wrestling, jiu-jitsu. And the big, takeaway from it is teaching jiu-jitsu guys, one part of it, right? Or the main part at least, is teaching jiu-jitsu guys wrestling, because...
Why that? Why that merge between the two?
Yeah, so in jiu-jitsu, right, a lot of times people will just elect to play guard, right, which is kind of like sitting on their back of their butt and having their opponent kind of come to them, right? They don't really force the takedown aspect. And as time went on, these federations, and especially like ADCC, right, which is one of the largest or most popular prestigious events right now, they basically force you to work takedowns, right? It's like if you sit your butt or your back or you pull guard now, you're going to get penalized, right? It's always been like that, but it's just become more popular, this event, and it's been growing as time has gone on and the sport's become more mainstream, where now wrestling is incentivized, right? And even other events are forcing that now, where it's like, hey, you have to wrestle. So now these jiu-jitsu guys who never wrestled before need to learn it, right? Right. And it's funny because some of these guys are just so dangerous and so high level on the ground, but then they're just like total beginners from their feet, right? And I'm not saying it in a bad way. It's just the truth of the matter.
They didn't learn that.
Yeah, they didn't learn it, right? So now, it's almost like these wrestlers are the access is limited, where like these schools are like hungry to bring a wrestler in and teach them takedowns because they need to learn them, right? It's like, hey, where am I going to learn takedowns now? So that's why I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this series. I'm going to break down techniques. I'm going to teach jiu-jitsu guys how to wrestle. And in between, I do some jiu-jitsu techniques as well, but I show my own techniques. I'll break down footage from Flow Grappling, which is basically like the ESPN sports for our sport. Yeah. So like a highlight will come out from Worlds or Pans, and one of the athletes, and I'll show the highlight, show what he did, how he did it. So I kind of make it like small, digestible pieces for people to understand.
Yeah, so you guys understand it. When he's talking about wrestling, he's not talking about, The Rock or, the other kind of...
Although I like The Rock when I was younger. Yeah, there's no stunners in here. Yeah,
you're talking about like the real wrestling and stuff you see in the Olympics.
Yeah, exactly. So, exactly. So now when it comes to in here, right, we have the jiu-jitsu side, which is no-gi, which is like you wear the rash guard and the shorts, and, it's basically submission wrestling. And then you have gi, which you're wearing like the kimono, right, the pants, the kimono top, the belt. And with the gi, you're able to use your opponent's grips against you. So I can grab your collar, your sleeves, your pants, your belt. I can grab anything, right? So it's a little more frustrating because you're limiting your opponent's movement because you're having all these grips now, right?
Yeah.
And then the wrestling for jiu-jitsu class, or wrestling class, is really, it's just takedowns, right? It's takedown offense, takedown defense, learning about being in a proper stance, closing the distance efficiently, setting up your takedowns. It's all about just taking your opponent down to the ground and stopping him from getting you down to the ground, so then you can kind of merge it, right, and integrate it into your jiu-jitsu game.
So I guess if you're a wrestler, one of my friends, Ken Del Vecchio's son Mario's, young kid. I mean, he's just an unbelievable season in wrestling. So if you're a wrestler, I could see where this would help. Also, jiu-jitsu would help as a wrestler. So not only, it helps the jiu-jitsu guys. It like you said, it merges the two.
Yeah, exactly. And they both have their their pros and cons, right? Like end of the day, being on your back in jiu-jitsu is okay, right? It's actually a very dominant position for someone, right?
Right, that's what I heard. How is that? Why is that?
Well, so
because you always think like, oh no, I'm on my back and now he's going to kill me.
Yeah, the foundation of jiu-jitsu, like from the Gracie family, was started for like, hey, how do I fight a bigger opponent and defeat them? Assuming they're bigger than me, stronger than me, they're able to get me down to the ground, I'm in a bad position. Like, how do I fight off my back? So let's say like, I'm just thinking as stereotypical as possible. I'm going against like a 210-pound guy who's 6'2" and bigger than me, right? If I can't get him
6'2", but
if I can't get him down to the ground, naturally you'd think he would probably take me down or get me down. And I'm thinking like from a street fight perspective. So if I'm down on the ground, how from the bottom perspective am I going to deal with this guy, right? So that's the self-defense aspect of jiu-jitsu. Started off that way, defeating a bigger opponent, using your small size and technique against them to defeat them, right? So that's why being on your back's okay, right? And that's why it's great for beginners to learn that, because in the beginning when you show up here and you're going against more advanced guys, you're going to get beat up for a little bit, right? And I say beat up in a nice way. Obviously, we're not going to hurt anyone. We're going to take care of you. But there's going to be times where, you're finding yourself on your back most of the time because you don't know anything yet. So you have to learn how to fight off your back first and how to get out of these bad positions before you start, taking it to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great self-defense in general, because those are the kind of fights that I've seen. It's never that, like you see in the karate movies where everybody's like a Jack Reacher kind of fight. It's always the bigger guy's going to wrap his arms around you, take you to the ground, and just try to pummel you.
Exactly.
So once you're on your back, what this teaches you is that's really an advantageous position.
Yeah, or you can make it an advantageous position, right? End of the day, you being on top is great too, but you want to know what to do from bottom, right? And hence why going back to the last thing, right? If you're, and I mean this in no way shape or form in a negative way towards other martial arts, but if you just know striking and then you get taken down, it's like, what do you do now, right? You need to know what to do from the ground, because if all you know is punches and kicks and then some guy's on top of you, it's like now you can't do anything, right? Like everything you know is gone. That's why you have to know what to do from the ground.
So if someone wants to check out your YouTube stuff, The Merge, how do they find that?
Yeah, so just go to YouTube, type into The Merge. It should pop up right away, right? Or technically, if you go to it's like YouTube/C for channel, YouTube/C The Merge 2020. That'll pop up at the channel. Okay. Instagram, it's at themerge.online. And then we have our
website for here.
And then our website for The Merge is just themergeonline.com. And those are all breakdowns, right? I mean, you can see footage of me competing. You can see different articles. You can go to view episodes. And we have 70. Right now, we're releasing a new episode every Friday. We're on episode 78 is coming out tomorrow. Wow. So you can see all the episodes for free. So YouTube, Instagram, our website. And then our website for our school, to check out our school, is TrassoJJW.com. So for jiu-jitsu and wrestling, so TrassoJJW.com.
And Trasso, TrassojJW.com.
Yep.
So they can go on there, they can see the kind of classes you offer.
Yeah, they can see programs, schedule, pricing, about me, everything. They can read, everything's on the website.
All right. Let me talk about age groups. So how young do you start? I mean, you started when you were 5.5.
Yep.
But how young do you start them here?
Yeah, so we have two kids groups here. We have 6 to 9, and then the second group is 10 to 13.
Okay.
And then 14 and up is just a teens and adult class rolled together.
Okay. So how is that? Like if you get an old guy like me coming in with a 14-year-old, I mean, because you're teaching you're teaching the same. It's the same, right? I mean, it's whether it's young or old, you're teaching the same.
Yeah, you're teaching the same thing
techniques.
And with kids, I try and make it very, very simple and basic for kids. End of the day, I'm someone that when I teach, let's just say for adults right now, you never want to show too much, right? Because it's like there's only so much someone can take in one class. If I show 10 techniques or even 5 techniques, there's just too much going on. You're a beginner still, and you're going to wind up losing things as you go on, right? So I usually try and focus on, getting a warm-up in, teaching one technique, getting into a second one maybe, and then from there, right, we go into positional sparring. So let's say, for example, I'm showing a technique from Spider Guard, right, which you don't know what that is right now, but I'm showing a technique from Spider Guard, maybe let's say a sweep, and then we'll show a pass from Spider Guard. And then we'll start in Spider Guard and say, all right, guys, your goal is to try and hit that sweep, the top guy's goal is to try and pass, and now you're going live with this guy, and you're actually trying to work what you drilled today, which helps you retain it, right, and helps you learn it. And then we'll go into some normal rolls, where it's just starting from open, and you can just roll at that point and roll, grapple, right? That's how a typical class looks for kids. I try and keep it to one technique, sometimes 2, and we try and make it a little more fun. So there's more games involved in kids' classes, and I try and even make the games I try and make the games geared towards our techniques, right? So, for example, like in our wrestling class yesterday, we kind of have the kids do sumo, right? We'll put like belts in a circle.
Oh, is that right?
And yeah, they're working on trying to push each other out. And at the end of the day, that's teaching the kids how to have a good stance, lower center of gravity. Because if you have a lower center of gravity, it's hard to push. It's hard to push you compared to if you're standing up. It teaches you to circle on the edge so you don't get pushed out, and it teaches you just body coordination and balance, right? So we play multiple games like that. One, for example, and it's fun for the kids, and it teaches them things, right? At the end of the day, I could play games like tag and dodgeball, which are fun, right? And kids are gonna giggle and laugh and love it. But I try and play games that are gonna actually like integrate and are meaningful and educational for the sport.
Right, and even though they don't realize that they're learning something, they're learning something.
Exactly. If we did sumo every day for a year, like you're probably pretty darn good at moving someone and preventing them from getting pushed out of bounds and circling eventually. You know what I'm saying? Like you'll catch on.
Can I play sumo if I come?
You can play sumo, yeah. I think we've actually done it once with the adults, and they actually had a lot of fun. They're like, oh man, this is actually pretty cool. Yeah.
You don't have the big blow-up suits though, right?
No big blow-up suits, yeah, no.
So you teach gi style, and then you also teach the other style?
Yeah, so I teach gi and no-gi style, yep.
Okay, that's what it's called, no-gi.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So if people watching, people listening, if they're like, you know what, I'm not sure, I want to take my child down, or I myself want to come down, and because there's also, there is the fitness aspect of it, there is the balance aspect of it, and as you get older, that's one of the things that you start losing is your balance. I mean, I look at my father-in-law is 91 years old, and I feel like a stiff wind's going to blow him down, because and as you get older, you start losing that, and I feel like, doing this even at an older age is good for you physically, mentally as well, but it's also good, like I said, center of gravity, confidence, and control of your body.
Mm-hmm. And even, I mean, weight loss and just health in general is great. And I swear I'm not saying it's biased because I love the sport, obviously, and I'm a teacher. But this sport is just when you're learning these techniques and you're you're actually grappling and you're rolling, and obviously the temperature's a little warmer in here, just to make sure no one's getting injuries when we're loose. I mean, your weight just flies off you, right? When you get to a higher level and you actually know techniques and you can kind of just start rolling and going and going and going, and you get more of a rhythm. Like back when my pro trainings, right, with these guys, I mean, we would do an hour of just straight rolling, right? And we'd lose 6-7 pounds of water weight, right? And then let's say you're eating healthy after, and the weight sheds off. I mean, some guys come in here, back in San Diego, some guy started at like 300 pounds. In a year, he was down to almost 210 or something like that. So yeah, the weight flies off you. So even besides like flexibility, balance, stuff like that, I mean, just getting in shape, getting a good sweat in, getting the heart rate going, cardio. I mean, it's all around just very healthy for you.
See, this is like the before and after picture. This is before, and this is after. That's what happens, right?
Exactly. You start slimming down and getting in shape. Your heart beats faster. You feel good. Endorphins release. I mean, yeah, it's all healthy.
All right. So if someone watching, they want to bring their children, their grandkids, they want to give them a gift, they want to come down themselves. If they come in for the first time and they're like, I'm not sure, my son or my daughter, they're interested. Is there like a trial program, or is there a way that they can check it out and test it out?
Yeah. So if someone comes here and they want to try a class, first off, if you don't have any gear, you can rent some from us. And then if they want to try a class, everyone gets one free trial class, so you can check out a class, see if you like it. Parents can stay. We have an area here they can just hang out. And they can try a class for free. And then after that, we can talk about what they want to do. Our memberships are very flexible in regards to, we have the long-term commitment ones if folks want to save some money by going longer term. And then we have more shorter-term non-commitment options, which are more month-to-month, and even a 10-class pack, which doesn't expire. It's 10 classes.
Whenever you want to take
lump sum up front, and you can just come whenever you want, right? So especially with kids, right? Some parents are like, hey, my kid plays hockey, football, baseball, basketball, he plays everything.
You can't commit to a steady schedule.
So we can come maybe once a week, and then it's like, hey, just grab a 10-pack then, because at the end of the day, if you're gonna, get a monthly membership and you come 3 times during the month, you're probably gonna feel like you got ripped off. Buy a 10-pack whenever you want.
And I love what you said about if the parent comes in or an adult comes in, asking them, what's your goal? Like, what do you want to achieve?
Exactly.
Do you want to just get in shape? Do you want to compete? Do you want to, and having that kind of conversation. So, I encourage you guys, come down, talk to Michael, and talk to him and talk about, what you want to do, what you want to achieve, or what your child wants to achieve. And he's willing to give you a free class. I mean, come on in and at least check it out and try it out. Because like you said, you don't know if this is your thing unless you try it.
Gotta try it, yeah. You don't know until you try.
Right? And look at this guy. Right? He's the poster child for jiu-jitsu. Mike, thanks so much. I'm really glad to see you open up here in Glen Rock.
Yeah,
Was there something that about Glen Rock that made you come here?
First off, beautiful town, right? Beautiful town. End of the day, I always wanted to be more in the northern Bergen County area, and when I was looking for schools, I was checking out Paramus, River Edge, Oradell, these surrounding areas. And, the agent wanted to call me, said, hey, come check out this place in Glen Rock. And I didn't really even think of Glen Rock. But, it just kind of clicked, right? Yeah. I saw the building. I saw the potential it had. It looked way different than this. I basically flipped this entire building or this entire space. Yeah. It was very different. But I just saw the potential, right? Great parking. Great community. You got the train right there. People can take trains from all over. Some of my friends that come to train, they take the New Jersey Transit in from Hoboken and Jersey City. So, literally anyone that's watching this, right? New Jersey Transit is a 1-minute walk away from my gym. So, everything just kind of matched up here. It worked out. It was perfect. So I just saw the potential.
And we were walking by yesterday, and there's, once the school lets out, there's so many kids that come by, and I, you had a lot of kids here, and I saw a lot of bikes out front. Yeah. It's such a great walking town, biking town, and you being right in the center of town is just a great opportunity for the kids to come train.
Yeah, and that's what I liked about Glen Rock as well. Like I did my homework in regards to researching statistics on certain towns, and big family town, right? Big family town. I think it was 2 to 3 kids per household I saw. Yeah, that's the environment I kind of wanted. So
yeah, it's perfect. This is your dream.
Yeah, this is my dream, and I'm living it. So
I love that. I love when you can realize when you talk to people that realize their dream from an early age.
Yeah.
Well, listen, guys, I encourage you to go on TrassoJJW.com.
Yep.
Check out The Merge on YouTube. And see some of his techniques, see some of the things and even if you're a wrestler and you're looking for tips, and it's great that you're having those online classes.
Yeah, I keep it coming, and everyone likes them. At the end of the day, I try and break things down very quickly, not too long-winded, and very efficiently. And you can start getting some ideas of how I teach and who I am online. And then if you're local, come down and try a class.
Yeah. All right, guys, I encourage you. Make sure you talk to Michael. Make sure you come down and try that free class. What do you got to lose, right?
Exactly.
Michael, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, guys, be well, everybody.